So this is the data to communicate with the database. So we need a server side technology, and we are using that server side technology. And server side we are using Node.js, and database suppose we are using MongoDB. And here in Node.js we write all the business logic, so to communicate with the database and interact with the database. So we write the business logic to do that. Now whatever the configuration, that means here the point is, so the data that various devices, client can be using a PC, client can be using a mobile, or client can be using any smart device, and it may be different operating systems, it may be different operating systems and services. That means it can be a PC, or it can be a mobile, or it can be so Windows, it can be like Mac, it can be like Linux, it can be like Android, it can be like iOS. Important. Now we need to create an application that can reach any device. That means this logic that you have written need to reach any device. It need to reach any device, any platform. And generally, in order to make it reach any device and any platform, so we need to configure so an API. We need to configure an API. So API. The main intention of API is it handles the request from the client, various clients. It handles the request from various clients, different operating system services. It will communicate with your backend technology, get the data from the backend, and convert and provide into the understandable format of your device. So generally, this is actually sent in the form of XML or in the form of JSON. So you can call as web service. So we can have web service. So or API. Earlier, that means now these days we are much using APIs. So web services also same. Actually, web service have three specifications. So web service have three specifications. One is it uses SOAP, it uses REST, and it uses JSON. These are the three types of communication types it uses. Earlier we need to use SOAP, then REST, and now very much we are using JSON. That means the main intention of API is to reach any device. So make it more flexible, make it more lightweight, so that it can reach any device. So data can reach anywhere, it can interact with anyone. Actually, it's a very big point to understand basically about web services and all. I will just give you an overview. So what web service? I will just give you a simple overview. These are all web service related concepts. So you have to understand in a service oriented architecture. Just basically I will tell you here. Yeah. So it is in my programs here. Means I will show you because this is common concept. You are learning Java, .NET, PHP, Python. Everywhere this services concept is very important, and you will see that regularly happening. First point is why you are asking difference between AJAX and web service. That means you don't know what they are first, right? So there is no point that any sensible person will ask what is difference between web service and AJAX. That means first you don't know what is web service. That means so then if you don't know what is web service, you need to wait until we discuss. Okay, na? First point is you don't have any comparison between AJAX and web service. That is completely baseless comparison. So no person in the world will compare AJAX and web service. Simple point. Understood? Web services uses AJAX. There is no difference in the world between AJAX and web service. Two baseless points you are trying to compare. There is no point at all. Okay, na? First, you should know that there is no difference between, there is no point about comparison between AJAX and web service. Okay, na? Web services uses AJAX calls. Okay. AJAX is asynchronous. Okay. Let's take here one simple example to understand what is a web service actually first, right? This is the API service. Actually, to understand the concept of APIs, so the APIs and how these options work. So this is the concept of web API. That means single page applications, APIs, how these work. One small point I will give you. The better presentation for you to understand. Some are not suitable for you, that's the reason I am checking that. Yes. Okay, so technically, so let's take the concept here. So this is the main intention. That means we have an application. We designed an application, and this application should reach every device. It should reach every device. From a browser to a mobile, everywhere it should work. How this is possible? That is possible by using actually web service. Technically, first you need to understand one point. Before going to web service also, you need to understand one point. Before going to web service, you need to understand a point called, so what is before going to web service, you need to understand what is distributed computing. Distributed computing. What is distributed computing? Before going into web service, first understanding about API, first you need to know what is distributed computing. Actually, distributed computing, what is the concept of distributed computing? Distributed computing is nothing but actually distributed computing, it allows It allows two machines, so machines, right? Yeah. It allows two machines running. So you can simply say that distributed computing, it is a technique. It is a technique that allows two machines, uh, or you can say that allows two applications running on two different machines, running on two different machines to share information, to share information, or running on two different machines to share information, or it can be like or. So that means you can say this or. Another point is it is a technique. It is a technique that allows two two applications running on same machine, running on same machine in two different process to share information, to share information. This is called distributed computing. So distributed computing is a technique that allows two applications running on two different machines to share information. And yeah, two different applications to share information running on two different machines, or two applications running on same machine in two different process to share information. Means I will explain in a simple point. Actually, so we have so suppose we have, this is a client machine, this is client machine, and this is server machine, this is the server machine. We have the client and the server machine. So generally we have this client and server machine. Now on server we have an application. Suppose take a good example of, suppose Facebook. So this is an application on server. Now on client, suppose you are opening a browser. Suppose this is PC. You are opening a browser. In the browser, you are accessing that Facebook and watching it. This is traditional web application. This is web application. But suppose, so you are using a mobile. On a mobile, here we are not using browser. We have a Facebook app on our mobile. That means we have a Facebook application on server and we have a Facebook application on mobile. Now this Facebook application is connected to the server application. So whenever you are connected with internet, this server application shares information to your application. It gets information to application. You don't need to use a browser. You need to just have an application. Application to application, information is shared. Client application, server application. Now this is distributed application, distributed technology. That means, for example, on your mobiles, you are using several applications like Gmail, like YouTube, like Swiggy, like Amazon, like Flipkart. Do you know all these applications are distributed applications. Understood? They are not web applications, they are all distributed applications. That means the Facebook, the Amazon, the Flipkart, the Netflix, whatever you are using on mobile, those are all distributed applications. That means two applications running on two different machines are sharing information between them, And two applications on, remember, not only two different machines, two applications on same machine. So that means here an application, suppose you have a uh, Amazon application. Now it can be client or server. On Amazon, that means here we have an application. Amazon. Now observe carefully, you will see that both are running on same machine. So both are running on same device. Now you might have observed that on Amazon, you are doing some shopping, and you searched for some products. After that, you close Amazon and you go to Facebook. Suddenly you will find in Facebook application, you will find advertisements about that product in Facebook. Am I right? I hope majority have observed that. That means in Facebook or in YouTube, suddenly you will find the advertisements related to the product that you have searched in Amazon. Am I right? Have you observed that point? Right. And that is the concept actually. That means two applications on same machine are sharing information between them. So this is called distributed computing. Distributed computing is two applications running on two different machines can share information between them, or two applications running on same machine can share information between them. So this is called distributed computing. Actually, there are so many distributed computing technologies. We have so many distributed computing technologies. Different technologies use different distributed computing. So, for example, I will show you different technologies. There are so many distributed computing technologies. So what are various distributed computing technologies? I will give you a simple point here. So the various distributed computing technologies, actually, this is distributed computing architecture. So this is the distributed computing technologies, and we have various distributed computing technologies like Corba, like DCOM, like RMI, like EJB, like web service. So distributed computing technologies, all these are. Corba is common object request broken architecture. So it was invented in 1992 by OMG Group, and it is used in almost 14 languages. Corba, common object request broken architecture. It is a distributed computing technology. DCOM, distribute component object model. It is invented in 1993 by Microsoft, and it is used in a language Visual Basic VB. And RMI, remote method invocation, invented by Sun Microsystems, and it is used in J2EE. So, and EJB, Enterprise Java Plans. So it is also invented in 1999 by Sun Microsystems. So web services introduced by W3C, World Wide Web Consortium, and in 2001, and it is used in all technologies. every technology knows web service and remoting that is used in .NET based applications. That means every technology uses this remoting architecture, this distributed computing architecture. That means if your application have to reach broad range of devices, so that should work anywhere, its data should reach everywhere. So then you need an API. This is what we call as API. So now all together is simply called as API. API allows you to share information across applications, and we can create APIs. We can create APIs. We can configure APIs in Node.js by using Express. By using Express. Understood? So what is distributed computing? First we need to understand. So what are the various distributed computing architectures? That means various distributed computing technologies, distributed computing technologies like CORBA, so like DCOM, like RMI, a remote method invocation, like EJB, enterprise Java beans, like web services, like remote. All this comes under that category. These are all various distributed computing architectures. Now we call this as an API. API is a new term. Term used for distributed computing technologies. So we are using this new term to indicate that it is handling all the communications. That means it is responsible for managing all the activities. So that means it provides HTTP utility methods. So it provides several middleware features. So for creating complex APIs. So Express is used. So simply Express is used for creating API. So creating API. So that is the reason Node.js uses Express for distributed architecture. And Express have the role of middleware which handles the communication. That means Express is a framework that uses HTTP utility methods. So and HTTP utility methods and middleware features. So middleware features. So that means a middleware is nothing but a middleware is responsible for enabling communication
Mr. Ganj.
between computers in a network.
Mr. Ganj.
So that is the reason a middleware is required everywhere to handle the communication between computers in network. The data sharing, data transporting, data translating, everything happens through this network. So Node.js uses Express as a middleware. So that is the reason many times we call Express as a middleware. But actually, middleware is also a framework. It contains a lot of libraries for building complex APIs. It is used for building complex APIs. Now, how to install Express? How do we use Express? We will see how we can create an application, distributed application. So how we can configure and create a distributed application. So technically, we will create a distributed application. So how we can create a distributed application? How we can handle communication? Let's see. For that means we will create a separate application now. In that we will have Express, Node.js, and everything. Server side, we are creating a professional server side application. To create a server side application, if you already have Node.js installed in your computer, so what you have to do is go to how to create an application, how we can start with the application. So first step, go to your computer and create a new folder. So I will create a new folder in the drive, any drive. I will create a new folder as so API. So API, that is the folder I am creating. API is the folder. So this is the API, that is the folder. You can configure. So I will give a better name for that API here. What I will do is I will change as shopping API. I'm giving a name shopping API. This is shopping API. This is an empty folder. Now once you open this, so open that folder in your project, in your Visual Studio Code, open that folder. So shopping API folder. Okay. Now currently it is empty. Now I want to create as an web application so that it can have all the logic to communicate with the client and server side, manage all the communication between client and server side. So first, what you have to do is, in this project, open terminal. You know how to open terminal. Open terminal, and here you have to run the command npm init. Npm init is initializing. Actually, npm init, what it will do is, this command will execute an environment. It will execute and set up an environment for building web application. It will start and configure an environment for building web application server side. So how to create a web application, configure an application, how do we get the environment for application? For that, you have to define this. When you run npm init, you can see it will ask some commands. So that means it will ask some questions. So when I hit enter, you can see it is asking some questions. So it is asking, so what should be the package name? Package name means what should be the name that you want to give for your project. So by default, shopping app is okay. That means what the name is there for the folder, the same we will use. Otherwise, you can give a different name. Okay, shopping API is okay. Now hit enter. You can give a different name here. I will keep the same name, enter. Okay. What version it is? By default, when you are developing an application, you can set a version for that application, 1.1, 1.2, any version. It is by default 1.0. This is our first version of the application. Okay, leave it 1.0. Enter. It is asking description. So I will write some description. So this is application. So this is an API with Node and Express. That is description. You can write any description and hit enter. Next, it is asking entry point. Every web application starts with index.js. Just like index.html, every application starts with index.js. You can use any name. So you can use any name. Suppose I am giving app.js. That means this will be our starter. This will be our starter. So if you want index.html, index.js, leave it. So otherwise, just keep it app.js. Traditionally, we use app.js actually regularly. It's not mandatory, but it's your wish. You can keep index.js because already we have index.html and we have a tradition of giving it as app.js. Anything you can give, doesn't matter. I give app.js and hit enter. Okay, that is the starting point. It is asking the test command. That means you want to use any testing environment. So currently we don't need any testing. Okay, enter. Later I will tell you. Do you want to store this into GitHub? So later I will tell you at the end how to post on GitHub and all. So we are not going to use any GitHub. Okay. Keywords. What are the keywords used for finding this application, searching this application? SEO. So some keywords. So suppose shopping API, Node Express app, something like this. These are the keywords. Enter. Author, some Naresh ID. Okay. Next. License, default license. So if it is any license, following any license like MIT or any specific license, or leave the default. And you can see that once you configure all this, it is showing that I am going to generate a package JSON for you. And this package JSON contains all the information about your project. So it will show all the data, all the details. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes. And when I hit yes, that means we just say yes, enter. That means it is created. And you can see that our web application is ready. And by default, our web application, inside the web application, you can see package.json file is generated. Package.json file is generated. This package.json file contains all the information about what you have defined. That means your project related information. Not only that, later, so when you are installing packages, libraries, everything will be updated here. This is the professional web application. So when you create a web application, so you need this package JSON. It will contain all the information. It is all metadata. That means what styles you are using, what scripts you are using, so what libraries you are using, everything is configured here. Automatically, when you install Bootstrap, install several modules, everything will be updated into this package JSON. So why this package JSON is important? Because if I have to deploy this project somewhere else, if I have to deploy this project on cloud or deploy this on some other computer, so first it will take information from this package JSON and it will verify the library is required for that application and it will install those required libraries into the application. So into that environment. So that is the reason this is very much important while building an application. And it keeps on updating according to what you are installing and configuration. So your application is ready. That means your application is ready. So for that, you need a lot of things to configure. All these I will give you here. So these are all the options to define. I will just keep all this data so that it will be convenient. So what we have to do, so we have to create a new web application. So we need to create a server-side web application. We need to configure and create a web application. For that first step, so create a new folder. Create a new folder on your PC. So that is C:/ some shopping API. So that is the folder. Now open in VS Code, Visual Studio Code. open that folder in Visual Studio Code and open terminal, then run the following command. You have to run the command. And the command is you have to define npm init. And this command will prompt you all these details. The command will prompt you all the details. These are all the details. So this is going to prompt you all the details. So these are all the details it is going to prompt you. So let's keep that here. Okay. These are all the details it will prompt you. That means the package name, so and the version, the descriptions, and finally it will get all that information about the time display. This is what it is going to generate for you. So it will ask all these questions when you run the command npm init, and you need to answer that, and according to that it will generate everything for you. So your application is ready. Your application is ready. Once the application is ready, we need to handle. Now we need to make the environment ready. So how do we configure the environment? How do we define the environment ready, right? Let's see. So this is ready. That means you have set up the basic environment. Now you have to add a new file into this, and that will be treated as startup file, that is app.js. This is treated as the startup file. And here we can write all the logic that we need to create an API. We can write. But to create API and to configure API, so you need a library. Express is required now. That means, so you have created the project. After creating the project, add a new file into project. So that is app.js. After that, you have to install Express. You have to install Express in the new application that you have created. How to install Express? For that, you have to use the command npm. So npm install Express -- save. This is the basic command you need to run to install Express in your project. Node.js is already installed in our computer. It will run in any project. So because Node.js is globally installed, now you need to install Express in this project. So we have to run the command npm install Express -- save. Now this will download and install Express for us. Express is a very big framework. So it will download and install the entire framework for you. Now you see automatically node modules is added into your project, and package JSON, observe carefully that package JSON is updated. So in the package JSON, you see dependencies, Express, which version, it gets that version. The latest version of Express is 5, but 5 is in just alpha release. It is not yet a final release. So the version that we are going to use is 4, right? So that is the default one. It will add the dependency and install it. Now you see one more file added, package lock.json. This package lock.json contains information about your library. That means you can see it shows your project, its version, and the dependencies. Dependencies means so which library it is downloaded, installed, whatever required. Remember, Express have installed so many dependencies for you. All the dependencies for Express are defined here. That means Express have installed a dependency called body parser. Express have installed a bytes. Express have installed content disposition, content type, cookies. These are all the libraries required for Express. That means Express is a framework That framework contains several libraries inside it. We need to use these libraries according to the situation. So once you download the package related libraries information is present in package lock.json. So package.json contains the framework name. In that framework, what libraries are present? That information is present in package lock.json. That means these are all the frameworks installed, libraries installed from the Express for you. It will get the information. That means we can use all these libraries in the project. You can see all they are loaded into this node modules. And you can observe that it is a very big library. So that means it is a very big framework. It contains a lot of libraries inside it. That means now Express is ready. So technically Express is ready. Now you can start using Express. You downloaded and installed Express. Now how we can create an environment. How we can start with Express. We will see how do we import, how do we configure, how do we write. So let's see. Generally, so what we have to do now, first in the app.js, we have to create, in the app.js we have to create Express is equal to require, it should use Express, require Express, right? Require, it should use Express. That is the library we have. So that means now important, Express contains, you have seen Express is a framework, and Express framework contains several more libraries inside it. In that, we need the core library. The core library name is Express. So we create an app that uses the core Express library. That means it will load this class into the memory. So it imports that into the memory, which can give access to all of them. Okay. So that means you have imported that Express library. And now Express library related all modules are accessible with the reference of app. Now how we can create a simple request. How we can create a simple request and configure this. Just what we have to do is, so that means now the request, server side application means I told you, client and server application, entire communication is managed by two important objects, request object and response object. And the HTTP methods, right? Express is a class, right? Express is a class. It is class, it is constructor. Am I right? That means we are loading that into the memory. It is a module, right? We are loading that into the memory. That means all the members, all the sub-libraries are accessible. You can access all the sub-libraries. It has to allow to make a request from the client and manage the request from the client. Generally, how we can define the request now? So app can use the methods. That means to handle the request, we need various HTTP methods. Actually, already we learned some options. If you remembered, so methods, HTTP methods, I told you about get and post like methods, get and post. We discussed a difference between get and post. I told you that we will learn about these in server side technologies also detailing. Okay. So this is get post. You know already differences between get and post. Can you tell what is the when to use get? Get is used for fetching the data from server. Am I right? Yes, fetching from server. Post is used for submitting. Can we submit on GET request? Can we submit on GET request now? Yes, we can submit on GET request, but not recommended. Am I right? Right. So we have several requests. We have GET, we have POST, we have PUT, we have DELETE. So these are all HTTP methods. Now server can configure these methods. So how we need to configure the methods? Server have to configure the methods and define the methods. So here app can use the methods. Get is the method. So get method, how the request you are expecting. Initially to the root application, the request will be slash. Slash indicates that so you are just requesting the server URL. You are not requesting any specific path. This is root directory. This is for root. If request is for the root, then it has to use a callback function. This callback function will generate a request object and a response object. Through the response object, it can send a message. That means response object, it can send a message by using send method. You can send a message. Response body, you can send a message. Welcome to Express. Welcome to Express. This is just option we have defined. That means now what it is doing, what it is configuring is when request is for the root, it will send this. For example, the request, I will tell you various locations. So various options how we can manage them. So initially, first this is okay. This is for root. For other requests, how to manage, we will see that. Now this application should start. That means server should start listening. Then we have to use app.listen. Listen on which port number? Some 300, that is 3000, that is the port number. You can use any port number, doesn't matter. It starts listening on this port number. And we will put a message. Console.log saying that server started. And this time, so it will be same http://127.0.0.1:3000. That is the URL. Now let's run this and see. Open the terminal and run here. Node API app.js. Run app.js. When you run app.js, now this is ready. When you run app.js, that is ready. That means you can see it says server started. Now you can request from any location. Open the browser. So you can open the browser, and from the browser you are handling this now. From the browser we are handling this. So http://127.0.0.1 and :3000 and hit enter, and you can see it gets welcome to Express. That means it is sending that response here and it is displaying this. From a browser we can access and we can configure. So now the point is, so you have learned two techniques. Directly with Node.js also, we created a server like this. Am I right? With Node.js also, we created a server like this. So now with Express and Node.js having a service like this. That means we are creating a request like this. Now, which one is good? So this is 100% good. That means Node.js is single-threaded, handling multiple requests from the client, managing requests from the client on the server. Using a Node.js server is not great, especially if you want your application to reach broad range of devices with a distributed architecture, transporting data across various operating system services. This is the best way. That means you have already learned. Without Express also we can do such things. With the Node we have created a server, and through server we managed them. But this is the right way. Through an API, we created an API. That API is managing our GET request. Similarly, now our API can manage post, put, delete different types of requests. How do we configure those requests? How do we define the requests? How do we use the request? And now using this API, you can connect with database, get the data from database and send the data to the client side. Client side, now JavaScript, jQuery, React or Angular technologies will consume this data and present the data in the UI. That is where we use Ajax to interact with the data coming from this API and use the data, right? So first we need to learn how to create an API to handle different types of requests, like get, like post, like put, like delete, how we can create APIs. Creating and configuring API to handle different types of requests is ready. Now we can you connect this with client side environment and we can interact between client side and server side. For that, we need this Express as a middleware. In Express, some more options are there that we will discuss in our next session. Tomorrow we will discuss about that, right? This program I will give up to this. Actually, what you have to do is you need to add here app.js. So in the app.js, we need to add this program. This is for handling generally the request, configuring the request and defining. How we manage the communication with the database and how to handle the other options in Express. That we will see in our next session, right? Tomorrow we will discuss about that, okay? Right.